morning, everybody. We're so excited to be here this morning. This is Diana Wentworth, and we are the Inside Edge, and we have an amazing morning for you. We have a great speaker, Howard Martin, who's the Executive Vice President of HeartMath, and maybe he's the 1500th speaker we've had over the 35 years of our meetings and speaker forums. Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and introduce our amazing president and the co-host of this meeting, Robin Mullin. She's one of my favorite people on the planet, and she just has such a beautiful intelligence and heart intelligence. So please, will you lead us through morning meditation here, Robin?
Oh, thank you so much, Diana. You're so kind. I'm really delighted to be able to offer this morning our morning meditation. It's a jump start for us to get the very most out of the rest of our session together. And so if you would, please join me. It'll be about 4 or 5 minutes, and it's time well spent to really get us aligned and connected and coherent. So close your eyes, if you will, sit up straight, and take a breath. And relax. Take a breath. Release and relax. Relax your body. And bring your attention to your heart center, that place where love lives in you, in your sacred heart. Find it, feel it, tune into your own heart center's intelligence, and just relax with your breaths more and more. Feel into it, your heart. Fall in love with it, your beautiful heart. And awaken to love. Feel it in your heart. That beautiful, unconditional, loving energy in your heart. And breathe. Breathe life into your heart. Inhale life into your heart. Exhale. And let a little more life into your heart. Feel it. Breathe and feel your beautiful sacred heart. Feel it. Notice it. Experience it with your heart. Fall in love with it, your beautiful sacred heart. Breathe, feel, awaken even more your beautiful heart. Feel it within you and all around you. Tune into life with your heart. That's the energy to create from a beautiful, sacred space. Now, take a moment and set your intention to stay in your heart center throughout this session this morning, to open fully to receive just what's perfect and needed for you today. One more nice, deep cleansing breath with gratitude for your beautiful heart. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and visually connect to all these other beautiful hearts in our circle this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin. Wow, that was fantastic. What a great way to begin our meeting this morning. I am over the moon to introduce our speaker this morning. He really started something that has had a huge impact in the world. He was originally a drummer, a musician, and he became an entrepreneur. He's the executive vice president of HeartMath and the co-author of the HeartMath Solution. He's one of the original leaders who helped Doc Childre found HeartMath, and he's been with the organization since its inception in 1991, serving as a key spokesperson and executive. He played a key role in launching the Global Coherence Initiative, a science-based co-creative project to unite people in heart-focused care and intention, and to facilitate the shift in global consciousness from instability and discord to balance, cooperation, and enduring peace. He's been instrumental in delivering practical yet dynamic programs to tens of thousands of people all over the world. And he has done training programs for Fortune 100 companies, government agencies, all 4 branches of the US government, US military, school systems, and on and on. I could go on forever. Better yet, I introduce you right now to Howard Martin. Welcome, Howard. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Diana, thank you so much for having me. This is cool. This is an iconic event, you know, in existence for 35 years. I mean, the first question I have is, what took you so long to have me? You know? But I'm glad to be with you today and glad to be with everybody who's joined us. Good morning to you and good evening to the gentleman who's in Ireland. It's great to see all of you here for a gathering to talk about something that I think is important right now, which is the unfoldment of the intelligence of the heart in the context of the world that we live in today. In just a minute or so, Rebecca is going to pull up a PowerPoint program that I have for this little presentation today, and I'll become small. But before she does that, I just want to share a belief that I have. I was thinking about it while we were doing this little meditative piece just a minute ago. But there's certain things that are important to me now as I move on in life, and the belief systems that guide my life get simpler as I go. And one of those is very important to me and very strong to me is that I believe that the purpose of life is to love. That's the whole reason that we're here, is to learn about love and to love. And when it comes down to it, that's what's going to matter at the end of it all, is how much I loved or how much I didn't love. And that's really, you know, sort of the secret game hidden in plain view, that we're here to love. And so everything I'm going to say in the next few minutes is leading towards understanding that better. It won't necessarily seem like it. It won't necessarily be as linear as that. But at the end of the day, this presentation is about establishing more love in our life. Basically, the speed of change is accelerating, and we know that. It's obvious. It's been going on for a long time. In recent times, it's been at a super accelerated phase. We see that reflected outwardly in things like the pandemic, which we've all been dealing with and have gone through, social unrest, political change, a variety of situations taking place in the world that represent a change is happening. And this is accelerating rather quickly. And as change occurs that fast, and we have never before in the history of humankind had this much change in such a short amount of time as we have today. And when that much change happens, it creates both chaos and coherence. The chaos we see that reflected just by turning on the news. We see everything that's going on that's very chaotic and can be very disconcerting. But we also, there's another momentum, a momentum of coherence that's happening. Basically, what I'm saying is this, is that, yeah, the world is highly stressed, but there is a heart momentum that's going on. Many people are realizing that they need to learn to get along better. You see all over the planet, people demonstrating more compassion, more cooperation. And that's really what's needed for the positive change. So in the midst of the chaos, there's also this heart momentum that's unfolding. We've got a lot of challenges in front of us, both personally, societally, and globally. And I believe that we have to develop new ways of dealing with these challenges. New intelligence is required in order to meet the needs of the challenges we face as a global society. And I won't get this quote exactly right. I'll paraphrase a little bit, but Einstein once said that the problems we have today cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we were at when we created them. And therefore, if we have these challenges today that we've created with a certain kind of intelligence, I'll call it third dimensional intelligence, we have to raise the vibratory rate in the mind and emotions, come into new understandings and see new solutions to challenges that sometimes appear to have no solutions, but yet I believe they are there. And that has everything to do with heart. Because when I observe life and observe people, that even though I see lots and lots of behavior that I certainly can't condone, I believe that everyone really has a good heart. Deep down inside, they have this magnificent source of wisdom within themselves and intuitive intelligence. And it's the type of intelligence that provides that self-security and that resilience and the connection we have with each other. And ultimately, through manifesting more of that, it draws back to us the fulfillment that we gain in life. And so it's something we already have. You know, the intelligence of the heart, which I'll speak to in the next slides, is really something we're born with. It's a natural intelligence that we have, and deep down inside, we all have that type of intelligence within. Now, as I said a minute ago, there's a heart momentum taking place in the world, and that is the unfoldment of a heart-based consciousness. It's beginning to filter into people and filter into how people think, behave, and how society functions, and ultimately how the world is going to unfold over these next decades. And it's a heart-based consciousness, and my life's work has really been about an exploration of that consciousness. I got into exploration of the heart at a very young age, actually, at age about 21, when I met Doc Childre, the founder of HeartMath. I was a rock musician. It was mentioned in the introduction, having some success with it, living a lifestyle that was certainly fun, chaotic, confusing, dramatic at times, but it had a lot of stimulation in it. And at the same time, I had a deeper prompting that there had to be something else for me in life. There had to be something more than that. And I began to study. I began to look at spiritual writings and teachings. I began to practice the things that I was learning from what I was reading. I met Doc Childre, who's the man who's HeartMath's founder, a guy who's a little bit older than me, but obviously a lot smarter than me. He talked to me about heart in a different way, that it wasn't just sentimental or weak or sweet or philosophical, that it was dynamic, that it was an intelligence. And so I set about trying to figure that out and study it for myself, do my own internal practice, and then applying what I learned and how I was living my life. I've learned a few things about that in these last 50 years, almost 50 years of that exploration. It's really who we truly are. When we talk about heart, it's the real self. People talk about their authentic self. Well, to me, that has everything to do with this core within us that I call heart. It's not the personality self. It's certainly not the self that we have made up to try to fit into society or to please ourselves or to make ourselves feel important. It's certainly not the self that we have developed at times to please someone else. It's deeper than that. It's the real true us. It's deep inside. And when we're in touch with that part of ourselves, that's when we have the ability to discern differently. it opens up our intuitive capacities. We become more intuitive in nature. Intuition is like knowing what you know without knowing how you know it. It's an indirect knowingness that we have. And when we're in touch with that deeper part of ourselves called heart, that's when that begins to unfold. And that gives us refinement in how we perceive and refinement in how we make decisions. That's an important characteristic of heart-based consciousness. It gives us a deeper connection with ourselves and with others. We have these heart connections with people at times. We have these heart-to-heart communications at times. And then some of the times in our life that are most meaningful and the connections that we have with people that are sort of heart-based connections are often very special. You and me, everyone has had times when we've had these heart-connected moments with people we don't even know. It happens all the time. But yet there's something that we feel when we move beyond the barriers of the biases and the judgments and trying to figure out who does what and where they work and who their mother and father are and all that. And just get down to the essence of this person and relate that way. Magic happens at times. I also believe that heart-based consciousness is just a platform for some of the emotional qualities that are the most regenerative, the ones that bring us the most fulfillment. And they have many emotional qualities long associated with heart. And there would be things like love, which I just talked about, appreciation, kindness, compassion, patience, dignity, honor, courage, all these type of emotional qualities that are the highest, best of humankind, to me are born from the heart. That's the birthplace of these type of emotional qualities. And so that's a characteristic of heart-based intelligence, heart-based consciousness. When we were manifesting more of that, wow, cool things happen. It enhances our co-creative capacity. In a lot of the writings I'm sure you've read and studied and probably practices you've done and beliefs you've developed, you believe that you have the ability to co-create your reality. Well, in fact, you do. There's certain things that are set, certain things that are not. There's a lot of co-creative potential within the cards that we've been given. It's the heart-based consciousness that provides the right type of direction for that co-creativity to produce the best results. That's been true in my life. If I hadn't listened to my heart, if I hadn't really tried to follow that, if I hadn't tried to develop that part of myself, I wouldn't be here today. I don't think I'd be here with you, certainly doing something like this. I don't even know if I'd still be on the planet by now. It's an interesting process to see the co-creative ability we have when you're doing it from this deeper place inside, from the intelligence and the consciousness of the heart. So at HeartMath, one of the things about HeartMath that I think has been very, very important is the fact that everything we do is based upon a scientific underpinning. We started scientific research at the very beginning. We knew if we were trying to introduce a heart-based system into a relatively heartless world, and we wanted it to have mainstream impact, we better do it differently. Because heart had been talked about for thousands of years. Yes, people respected it to some degree, but it was mostly held in the fields of things like philosophy or spirituality or religion, and it wasn't something that people saw in daily practice as a way to live their life. We wanted to build that bridge between what people sort of innately felt and what had been said about heart, and take it right down into the street, where it was needed the most. To do that, we needed to do things differently. We needed to build that bridge. We chose science to be the bridge. So everything we do at HeartMath has a scientific underpinning. And today at HeartMath Institute has done an amazing amount of scientific research in a variety of fields. There are over 400 published peer-reviewed research studies on HeartMath today. There are over 10,000 sightings of HeartMath research in other research literature. So this large body of research has provided the underpinning for what we teach and what we share with the world. I'll give you a little bit of that right now. One of the things that we discovered, and it was discovered in consort with other researchers as well, is that the heart was more than a blood pump. It was actually an important information processing center in the body, and that the physical heart was sending information to the brain and throughout the entire system. And it did it in 4 ways. It did it neurologically through this really sophisticated nervous system that exists in the heart. It did it biochemically through hormones the heart was producing, like oxytocin, DHEA, the anti-aging hormone. It was doing it biophysically. And what that means is that as the heart beats differently in different rhythms, the blood pressure wave that pushes the blood through the veins and arteries modulates. Those blood pressure wave modulations change things like electrical activity in our brain. And that was the third way. All these ways have been well researched, well understood, well documented. The fourth way it communicates is where it gets most interesting, at least to me, is the energetic communication that the heart has. Your heart is an electrical organ. If we go to the doctor says, I'm going to do your electrocardiogram now. What do they just say? Electrocardiogram. It's electricity. They're measuring electricity produced by the heart, and the heart produces by far the strongest source of electricity in our body. Now, it produces enough electricity, it creates a magnetic field that surrounds us in 360 degrees, and that's what you see on the screen right now. It's a torus-shaped field. This is a model of the field. The shape of the field was done by researchers at University of Arizona. And this field surrounding us in 360 degrees. Now, the field extends beyond our skin. It goes out into space about 3 feet. For our European friend, about 1 meter. So it surrounds us in 360 degrees. It goes outside of us. Now, magnetic fields contain information. The heart's field's information is actually our emotions. We are imprinting our heart's field with what we are experiencing emotionally. If we are experiencing anger, frustration, judgment, those type of feelings, it's reflected in the field. It produces frequency signatures in that field that are representative of those type of emotions. Conversely, if we're experiencing love, care, compassion, kindness, etc., the field changes. It becomes more coherent. It becomes more ordered. So this heart's field is sending information to our entire body. Every single cell in our body is being flooded with this information, and we're sending it out into space. Now, the 3-foot measurement is a very conservative measurement. The most conservative equipment you can use to measure magnetic fields can pick it up 3 feet away. Researchers believe the field goes a lot further than 3 feet. If you begin to consider fields through the lens of quantum physics rather than Newtonian physics, you remove the barriers of time and space. So the heart's field can be connecting beyond barriers of time and of space. But we certainly know through very conservative measurement that it's extending 3 feet outside the body. We know from conservative research analysis that the field contains information related to our emotions. So we are literally broadcasting our emotions out into space into whatever energetic field environment we are in through the heart. That's just a little bit of science. When all this heart-brain body communication stuff is working together really well, we enter a state called coherence. The medical term for this state is psychophysiological coherence. The coherent state is a highly ordered state where all the major systems in your body are working in consort, in rhythmic synchronization with the heart. And that's digestion, respiration, brain function, hormonal response, immune system response. They all sync up. And when that happens, it's healthy. Our body's using less energy. Things are working together in harmony. We train athletes, we train police officers, we train military personnel. It increases their ability to perform in the areas that they have to perform in. It's a highly aware, but yet calm and balanced state. It's also emotional. We tend to enter into a more coherent state when we are experiencing regenerative, uplifting emotions, the same emotions associated with heart. You experience more appreciation for life rather than complaining, you become more coherent. You start putting out more compassion to someone rather than judging them, you become more coherent. So there's a direct correlation between the coherent state and the emotions. And the way you enter the coherent state is through doing things like we did at the very beginning. A meditative practice, for example, can help, where you're focusing in the heart and you're activating some of these regenerative, uplifting emotions. So the coherent state is a state that's really good for us. It leads to drawing in more of that intuitive intelligence And when we draw in more intuitive intelligence, that's when we begin to see solutions to challenges. That's when we develop new perceptions and new capacities to understand things. That's when we have the enhanced ability to discriminate our choices. And coherence sets a lot of that up for us. Take it a step further. I've been talking about us, our physiology, our fields, etc. But modern science is now beginning to accept that we are all connected energetically through this vast web of energetic connections of every living system on this planet. But also, my belief is beyond our planet. But every living system that we know of and every living system that's possibly in the universe is connected through this vast web of energetic connections. And science is beginning to prove that now. A lot more work to be done on that, but as that proof continues to unfold, it will give us a new sense of ourselves, of our connection to each other, and our place in the world, and even our place in the universe. So it's through these magnetic fields of the heart that we connect and communicate with each other. And we are actually communicating with the earth itself, and as I mentioned, beyond. Now, this is a short presentation today, and there's a lot we could talk about, but one of the things I'll mention is that we are working towards creating global coherence here at HeartMath. How do we create more coherent state throughout society itself, throughout the 8 billion people that live on our planet now, and the earth itself, the physical planet that we live on? And to do that, we've created something called the Global Coherence Initiative. You see, we're all producing these fields, and every living system is producing these fields. Now, the earth itself produces fields. The earth produces a couple of really important fields. One you've heard of called the geomagnetic field. It's what a compass measures. The other is called the ionosphere. They work together. The ionosphere starts about right above the atmosphere. It goes about 120 miles up into space. These fields are protective layers around our planet that protect us from incoming, I'll generically call it space weather. Cosmic rays, solar flares, solar winds, all that cosmic stuff. If it was hitting the planet without protection, nothing that we would call life would be here. It'd be a rock. These fields provide this function of protection, and they're constantly fluctuating and changing. And science knows for sure that changes in these fields are affecting human health and behavior. Lots of research has already been done. As the geomagnetic field and the ionosphere modulate, it changes frequencies in the brain, it changes things that happen in society, well documented, well understood. We're trying to take all of that a step further. Think about it this way. If we're producing fields, and our fields are encoded with the information from what we're actually feeling inside, and there's a global field of consciousness among all the people that live here, and there are fields produced by the planet, then we have to start to recognize that everything we think and feel is a contribution to the global field, and that everybody's thoughts and everybody's intentions affect the field. This is going on constantly. What we're putting out from our heart through that field, driven by our emotions and our thoughts, is actually imprinting the field of consciousness itself. The question becomes then a responsible question in relation to our co-creativity, which I mentioned earlier. The question is this: what are we feeding the field in any given moment in time? Am I being more loving, or am I complaining and griping? Did I just have a terse conversation in that business meeting as an executive vice president with HeartMath? And am I processing that? Or am I remaining poised and calm and dignified? All that is feeding the field, whatever I'm feeling. And that's true for each and every one of us, including all of you that are here in our inside gathering this morning. So the hypothesis we have is that the Earth's fields itself are carrier waves of biological information, and that we are all affecting the Earth's fields themselves. So the Global Coherence Project involves some science, and that's on the next slide. Researchers at HeartMath Institute have developed technology that measures subtle changes in the geomagnetic and ionospheric field. We are deploying sensor sites called Global Coherence Monitoring Sites around the planet. That information is being fed back into the HeartMath Institute research labs 24/7. Scientists are looking at this information, analyzing, trying to understand it. The purpose of creating this system is to test a hypothesis. The hypothesis is this: the emotions of the 8 billion people on this planet are actually impacting the planetary fields. We know the fields are affecting us. We think that may be a two-way communication, that we are also impacting the fields. If that was true, it would prove out that every meditation we've ever done, all our thoughts, our feelings, our intentions, our affirmations, that all that stuff is actually measurable. We believe it's true already. It's why we do it. But if we can measure it and understand it, it increases the power of belief. And when the power of belief is increased, the power of effectiveness also increases. So we're doing this grand study, which will take many, many years, to look and see if, in fact, we are impacting the fields that the earth produces with what we think and what we feel. So there's a lot that's unfolding right now in terms of understanding heart, about understanding how heart relates to the world, understanding how heart impacts the actual planet itself. When I look at the simple version of this, I say, well, what we're doing here at HeartMath, and I think, what you guys are probably doing in your own way as well, is we're trying to build more heart into ourselves, to add more heart to our own lives, to share that so that it spreads more into society. Society begins to function a little differently through a more heart-based consciousness, which leads to more global coherence. This is going to take some time. It's not an overnight process, but it's already on the move. A new world is already birthing itself right in the midst of the old one. And that new world has everything to do with creating more cooperation between our hearts and our minds, between people and cultures and the world itself. And that's going to lead to the greater individual and collective coherence, and opens the door for the well-being and the new and better world that we all want to see. And it starts with cooperation. As Doc Childre has said many times lately to me, he said, it's simple. He said, people just need to learn to get along. And that cooperation starts with getting along with ourselves and getting our heart to get along with our mind. And then between people and between systems and between the world itself. So that's my little download for you today before we go into some interview stuff, and then you guys will be in a breakout room. But let me share some things that I think you can do based on what I said, or based on what you're already doing with your practices. The first step would be to become more conscious and responsible for what you are feeding the field. That's true for me as well. Become more conscious of that. Recognize that whatever you're sort of processing and noodling around in your thoughts and feelings is impacting the field. If you want to feed it something different, do it. That's not only beneficial for the world, it's beneficial for you. To do that, it gets pretty simple. Just demonstrate more heart qualities as you lead your life. Being kinder to people. Being more appreciative. Demonstrating more love. And doing it casually as you interact with life and other people. It doesn't take much to be a little kinder to folks, does it? It doesn't take much to find something to appreciate, because we have a lot of good things in our life. It's just a matter of wanting to appreciate them more. Now, to do that, listen to and follow the guidance of your heart. It's always there. The heart's speaking all the time. It never goes away. It's us that goes away from it. But through practicing various things that you do already, or maybe HeartMath things, you can learn to become more sensitive to what I'll call the voice of the heart, to that intuitive guidance that the heart's always providing. So you become more conscious of what you're feeding the field, you demonstrate more of the qualities of heart and how you lead your life, and you listen to and follow the intuitive guidance of the heart. The last thing that I think you can do that will help all of that come to life and make that easier for you is to have compassion for yourself. Compassion is the highest frequency in the love spectrum. And we know that we need to give it to others, but we also need to give it to ourselves. We're living in a challenging time period in human history. It's not always easy. There are going to be times when we don't feel like we've done enough, or that we're not getting it, or that we've made mistakes that we shouldn't have made. The list goes on. But you need to recognize that you're a good person doing the very best you can, especially in this era of super high speed change. So when you find yourself there and you find that you're being down on yourself, try to have more self-compassion. Be compassionate with yourself. Recognize you are a good person. You have a good heart. You're making a contribution to the world in whatever ways that you live your life. And honor yourself for that and have compassion for yourself. If you do that, the rest of everything else will get easier. Compassion is really an act of self-love. And as I said at the very beginning, the purpose of life is to love. Learn to love yourself. Do that through giving yourself compassion. Take that forward and then love others as best you can and put that love into the world. And that's what I have to say this morning.
Wow. You have completely blown me away. You have answered every single question that I could think to ask you. You're just one of my favorite speakers ever. And I don't remember ever feeling quite so riveted to the message. My only kind of question is about asking questions. I absolutely love that you taught us to ask, what are we feeding the field? I have often called, I ask myself quintessential questions. So I just live in questions, and that's the way I seem to be able to open the flow for my heart to speak to me and answer those questions. So if you would just say a little more about it, asking the question of, what are we adding to the field and all of that? Can you do that?
You surely have done well at asking questions. I mean, you've been doing this work a really long time, and you've made such a contribution to the world in your own way with this. And so whatever questions you've been asking, I appreciate you having asked them, and I appreciate you following your answers on that. Yeah, I mean, the questions are, here's the challenge with questions when you want to get a hard answer. The heart doesn't always give you back the answer your personality wants.
That's great.
Yeah. It just doesn't, sometimes it's like, hell no, I don't want to do that. It's like, heart, go away now. I'm busy right now. Can you just hush down a little bit? I don't want to hear that right now. And so that happens sometimes. The other thing about the voice of the heart, I'll just call it that for now. It sounds kind of philosophical, but the intuitive promptings of the heart, they're often quieter than the roar of the mind. The roar of ambition and survival and getting things done and being somebody and all that stuff is like louder than the voice of the heart. So to really ask the questions, we have to learn to slow down a little bit, to ease down into the heart, and to take those moments in time and sort of reduce some of the chatter that's happening and ease back down into the heart and try to it's just slowing down what I'll call the vibratory rate of the mind and emotions. And then from that place, you can ask some questions and then have the openness and willingness to sort of follow those promptings. It isn't like you're going to hear a voice in your head that says, well, and you need to do this. It's not that way, but there are promptings that come and you'll sort of feel certain things. And even when you ask questions, sometimes an answer is certainly not going to be necessarily immediate. Mm-hmm. It may come a week later, but it's the act of asking.
Right. I love that. Yeah. I love what you said about a deeper prompting. I often find that when I do ask these questions, I'll be in the shower or something, it'll be hours later, and all of a sudden I'll have a deeper insight or a deeper prompting. We have to move along into our breakout rooms. This is the way we connect our community. It's a very heart-centered community, and it's a great way that we might even discover some new people that we want to add to our own tribe. So Howard, you're going to give us a question that people can focus on in the breakout room, and then I will explain how the breakout room is going to work.
Okay, what I'd like to ask you to discuss is this. It's like we see the world and we see all the problems, right? That's easy. But what I'd like you to consider is, where are you already seeing more of the qualities being added in life, and how? Where are you seeing more of the qualities of the heart being added in life, and how are they being added? And to ponder that a little bit, and then have a dialogue in your breakout room about where you see that. So the question again is, where are you seeing more of the qualities of heart being added in life, and how?
Okay, well, wonderful. And so we're going to have three people in each breakout room. And you're going to have 3 minutes each because of the timing this morning. So it's going to be 10 minutes altogether total time. Okay, let's move into our breakout rooms. Okay, well, some of us are back in the room already. That to me was like the richest topic because it all started out for us by talking about the news and how negative it is and all of this and not being able to think of anything that was really happening. And then all of a sudden we got into this great place. Melinda, would you like to say something? And I just love you and I love your message. So unmute yourself, good.
Oh, well, as Howard said, there's nothing like going to the heart, and how that just can shift up to 1,400 different things in our brain, in our body, if we were trying to, coping with stress, and how getting coherent and bringing the coherence that Howard was speaking about, where things get into sync, our body systems, our heart, our minds, our emotion, our spirit, that doing the coherence techniques is what actually accesses that. And instead of trying to solve 1,400 different things, we can go in and get coherent to start bringing the balance, to actually bring in health and potential for health and well-being there. So I just acknowledge Howard and the whole HeartMath team for creating, and Doc for creating these techniques.
Absolutely. And I just had a thought. I had a heart attack in 2009, and it was a time that I really was beginning to study HeartMath. And I really went into dialogue with my heart about what was really going on. And I ended up writing a book. It's my only self-published book called Love Your Heart. And I mentioned HeartMath in it. And I would like, when we send out the recording of this, I would like to send a copy of that to everybody here, just because that was such an important thing. And there's so many good heart things in there, including HeartMath. How can people learn more about, what HeartMath offers and what projects and everything are going on?
We have two organizations at HeartMath, two organizations, one mission. But there's a for-profit and a nonprofit. The for-profit website is heartmath.com. Go there and you can learn a lot. If you want to know more about science and about things we do for children and families and that sort of subject matter, go to our nonprofit, the HeartMath Institute. So we have HeartMath Incorporated and HeartMath Institute. HeartMath.org is where you find the nonprofit information. HeartMath.com is the other part of it. So either one of those sites, and of course, we have all the regular stuff that people are used to today, social media and all that. You can join HeartMath Facebook groups and all that. We have over 1 million followers now, in that follow HeartMath in the two groups, the HeartMath Institute and HeartMath Incorporated Facebook groups. And that's the way you can keep up with what's going on. There are things you can get for free. You don't buy anything to participate. You can join the Global Coherence Initiative, for example, for free. You can be put on newsletters and updates. There's an events page on those sites that tells you where we're speaking or what interviews we're doing and that sort of thing. It's lots of ways that you can sort of tap into this world of HeartMath. And then begin to pick and choose what might be right within it for you and for what your interests are and what your needs are.
Okay, so now we have some exciting announcements coming up. We've just finally gotten the title from our next speakers. There's two of them. One of them is, well, both of them are super famous. One is Bruce Lipton, who wrote a book called The Biology of Belief. And he has joined with our own favorite speaker, one of our speaker winners last year, Steve Behrman, or Swami Beyondananda, to write a book called Spontaneous Evolution, Our Positive Future, and a Way to Get There from Here. And their topic, with tongue-in-cheek topic always with Steve, is conscious evolution and the great upwising. That's upwising. And Howard, there are no words to help you, for me to say that will express how grateful we are for your message today. Do you have any closing things that you would like to say to us?
Just first of all, Diana, thank you for inviting me to your community. I've certainly enjoyed, being here today with everyone and having an opportunity to participate in and something that I think is really important. Closing comments would be this: just we're all making important choices right now as we move into this next phase of life. The shifting consciousness is continuing to unfold, and it's going to continue to accelerate. So just be conscious of, what your heart can offer, and the self-security it can provide, and the intelligence and the wisdom that's there for you and always has been. The choices we make are going to be dictating, I think, the future for ourselves and for a global society moving forward. And we're at critical phases right now in that process. So make it fun. It doesn't have to be a heavy thing. It's like just learn to get along better, learn to listen to and follow your heart. Practice whatever you practice, take what you gain from that and share it with others, and everything will be okay. But I just wish you all the very best, and know that, as I said in the beginning, the purpose of life is to love. And I'll just end by saying that I'm offering my love to you. So big love to everybody who's been a part of our program today.
Oh, thank you, Howard. I'm sure you'll find lots of us on your site. And I want to thank you for reminding us to have fun. My late husband used to say, if we're not having fun, we're not doing it right. So I think that's a key element to the heart activity. So I want to just thank everybody on our team for a great meeting this morning. And I want to invite Robin with her final words.
Yeah, I want to add my love and appreciation to everyone as well. Howard and Diana, thank you for hosting. A beautiful job as always. And if we